Hello, welcome to another tutorial. This is the second video in the palletizing series. In this video, we will be going over the pallet editor, which is in the extensions tab. Now, in this pallet editor, basically you can create many different configurations for your palletizing. So you will need to edit your pallet, your boxes, as well as the layout itself. So there's a home tab, which is where we currently are, and there's a quick stack tab. So we'll start off with the home tab. Now in the home tab, we need to first define the length and width of your overall pallet. And these units are in millimeters. So currently we have 1500 millimeters by 1500 millimeters, so meter and a half by meter and a half. And what this margin is, if it's a negative margin, that means you cannot exceed the edges of your pallet itself. So we have a kind of a 20 millimeter limit on how close you can get to the edges of the pallet. And if it's a positive number, that means your boxes can exceed the edges of the pallet by that certain amount. Let's just say we want a 20 millimeter limit on how close you can get to the edges. So we click Add Pallet. Now we can go into the box edit, and let's just say our boxes are, 300 by 200 millimeters. And they're at so RZ represents the angle. So let's just say it's 0 degrees. So the length corresponds to the X, and W width corresponds to the Y axis. Let's add a box first. As you can see here, the closest, we cannot exceed the edges of this pallet, and we have the 20 millimeter buffer, as you can see here. And so this pre-point direction represents this arrow here, and what this represents is when the robot is putting in this box, what is the direct? Instead of going straight up and down, the robot will come in from this direction and put this box. And you can set this, and the purpose of this is to reduce any sort of collisions and things like that. So let's show why that is. Let's add a few boxes here through this add box button, right? So let's just say we have these boxes. We have added box 0, 1, 2, and now when we're adding in box 3, if the robot is coming straight in and out of the screen, coming up and down, when it puts this box 3 down, the edges of box 3 might run into box 1 or 2, right? Because the boxes might not be exact dimensions. However, if we're coming in at a 45-degree angle, we will eliminate the possibilities of damages occurring. So, and with these, you can adjust this angle as well. You can adjust it by positive 15 or negative 15 degrees, or you can enter a specific amount here as well. And this pre-point distance is from how far away do you start initiating this kind of 45-degree angle entry. And this min margin is about how, what is the margin what is the minimum margin around this box you want. So let's say on this box 1, we want to have a 20 millimeter margin, and we can click change. Now when we try to get close to this box, as you can see here, we can no longer get right up to the box 0. Now there will be a 20 millimeter margin around it. Same thing if you try to go to box 3, same thing happens. So if you want to make changes, you can click on the box and adjust wherever you want and click change. And the next thing is reorder. So currently the order is 0, 1, 2, 3, and that is how the robot will, go ahead and place these boxes. Let's say we want to reorder it. We can click reorder. So now let's just say we want this box to be first, 2, 3, 4, and click reorder finish. And now you have reordered the boxes. Now this box will come in first, second, third, fourth. Another feature of this box edit tab here is the center all button. If you click center all your boxes will be centered on to the center of this pallet. However, one thing to know here is that if your boxes are kind of randomly ordered and you click center all, they'll still be randomly ordered when you click center all. So make sure to reorganize all your boxes before you click center all to achieve the desired effect, like so. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's take a look at a layout edit. So let's start off with double layer. So let's just say, so right now we're looking at layer 1, and now if we open up layer 2, so layer 2 will be kind of seen as translucent blue here. The whole point of this double layer is to show what it looks like once you have 2 stacks of this together. This is just kind of to see if your box will be stable in a stable structure once it is stacked up. So now let's go ahead and take a look at array param. Before we do that, let's go into box edit, delete a few of these boxes. Delete box, delete box, delete box. Okay. Go into layout edit. So in this array param, basically here is where you can set a grid array or a line array. So let's just say we select a grid array. So we will have to add a margin here. So this is the margin between each box of your grid. So let's just say we have a 10 millimeter margin, say 20, so it's easier to see. And count. And count is how many in each direction. So let's say we want 3 in each direction. Click grid array. And now we'll have a grid, a 3x3 grid, where each box has 20 millimeters in between each other. So regardless if you select X or Y here, if you select grid, the count will be set for both axes, and the margin same for the margin. And with this grid array, basically, with any arrays, you can do select this horizontal mirror or vertical mirror, just reflecting across the X or Y axes. And you can also, turn this entire pallet by 180 degrees, like so. And you can do minute changes to each one of these boxes or multiple boxes. For example, as you can see, I'm clicking this multiple times, and this is where you can do some fine adjustments. And now, if we want to do a line array, let's say we want to do a line array on this one here. So now this is where the X or Y direction matters. So let's say we want to do a line array on the Y direction, each box margin of 20. And this count represents, this count corresponds to how many extra boxes you want on this. So before, for a grid array, we had 3 boxes on each axis, which included the reference box. However, if we're doing a line array, this count represents the number of extra boxes. So let's just say we want 3 extra boxes with 40 millimeter margins, and we click line array, and we'll add 3 extra boxes here with 40 millimeter margins here. So now let's just say you have some boxes that are kind of unevenly spaced like so, right? And let's just say we want to make them such that the gaps in the X direction are all uniform between these 3 boxes. Go ahead and select the multi-tool, select all 3 of these, and then select H gap. And as you can see here, by using H gap, now the gaps between all 3 boxes are equal now. And you can do the same thing as with V gap if the boxes are lined up in the Y direction. So that's the basics of the palette edit, box edit, and layout edit. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what Quick Stack does. Let's clear all the data. Let's make another pallet, 1500 by 1500 millimeters, and go into Quick Stack. So if you input this, the 1500 in the home screen and then save it, this will be what happens in the Quick Stack editor here as well, with a margin here as well. So basically here you can edit your box sizes, 300, 200, your minimum margins, your pre-dis, your pre-direction, and you can click generate. And this will generate a bunch of different configurations, and it will be ranked from the most number of boxes placed on the pallet to the least number of boxes placed on the pallet. And based on what we change here, we can click generate and it will update. For example, let's make 300 by 300 boxes. As you can see here, it'll automatically generate here, and we can adjust the margins here as well based on the margins, and even this margin here. So right now we have negative 20, means it needs to be 20 millimeters away from the edge. Let's make it positive 20. As you can see here, so now some of the boxes are past the edges of this pallet by by 20 millimeters. And depending on whichever one you want to pick, you can select it. For example, I want to pick this one. And after you select this one, you can again edit whatever you want in here. And once you are done editing, you can input export it as a file. So let's just say we want to name this one demo. Click export file. So now once we have exported this demo file, and let's just say we want to make some adjustments to it. Let's just say we want to drag this box out a little bit. Now we click export file again. It's going to require a password. So first of all, you want to set a password. So the first password that you're going to want to enter is 1, 2, 3, or 5. And now you can set a new password. So the default password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now you can set a different password. And click set. And now you can input that same password that you just set. Okay. And now you can overwrite the file, and the profile has been exported successfully. And next time, let's just say you want to make another change to it, you click export file. You're just gonna have to input the password, input your current password, and click OK. And again, at any point, you can also set your password again by entering your old password and click set, and enter a new password. Similarly, you can also click import file. Once you click import file, in AUBO Robot Workspace, Teach Pendant, Share, Teach Pendant plugins, and Pallet Editor. These are all the palletizing configurations that you have previously set. You can select any one of these and select open, and that one will be open. And then again, you can edit it and then export it as long as you know the password. And that is all the basics and the fundamentals of this pallet editor. Next, we'll be going into programming and looking at how do we use these configurations that we have created by going into conditions, process, and using this process condition.